Now, for those in the nonprofit circle, there's a wonderful book called The Network Nonprofit that talks about all these peripheral network influences. It's a great book and if you're at a nonprofit and want to understand this stuff. But the point is the fact that maybe your mission is to reach a small group of influencers over here that, you know, does not have Justin Bieber's cloud scores, right? It may have insignificant cloud scores, but it's tremendously influential to your particular marketplace, right? So you've got to look at what measure. There's no Bible, there's no cloud score that's like Nielsen influence. It's not going to happen. I understand the need to have some influence numbers out there because you're trying to manage this huge network out there and there's all these people and how are people important, and you know, I get calls from clients saying, oh my God, this crazy person is out there saying, and what do I respond to? I'm like, don't look at their cloud score. Look and see whether people are engaged in what they have to say. How many followers do they have? Yes, that's important, but how many people comment on their blogs? How many friends do they have on Facebook? If they don't have a lot of engagement, then maybe you don't need to respond, right? You've got to look at this stuff. It's not an easy answer. I know it's hard. I know you're all busy, but you're not going to come up with one easy answer because it's going to be relevant to the individual marketplaces and people that you're trying to influence, and a computer can't tell you that, right? What I love is the guys that you used to deal with all the time, right? There's a reporter out there that got laid off from the Miami Herald who's now got his own blog, and it's occasionally picked up by Mashable. Well, that guy was influential to you at one point. He still knows your marketplace. He's still influential. Even if he doesn't have a big cloud score, he's still going to be influential because he still has the sources. He's still going to have the followers. Just because he's got a new job and it ends in .com doesn't mean he's not still influential. You still have the human element there that understands what's important and what's not. Let's talk about engagement. Yes, Procter & Gamble and Coke weren't nice enough to provide us with all the answers. I basically have this theory that it's a continuum, right? It's not you are engaged and you're not engaged. A lot of what Cynthia said is in this, but essentially you sort of have to look at it and say, okay, likes and unique visitors are the surface level of engagement. A little higher level is, I'm going to follow you on Twitter, which gives you the ability to direct message me. That's a little higher level of engagement. If I'm going to comment on your blog post, that's slightly higher. If I'm going to retweet you, repeatedly comment, share stuff, use your hashtags, send me messages, that's a pretty high level of engagement. That's where most companies aspire to. In reality, there are higher levels. And there are higher levels that are even more important. One is willing to say positive things about you, net promoter scores, or willing to try something, registration. Then there's obviously repeat purchase, advocacy, trial. And the way I look at it is, it's all about, and Don Wright said this first, which is, the best blog post or the best press release in the world, the best love letter in the world isn't effective if it doesn't get you a date. And the best date in the world isn't effective if it doesn't get you what you want, right? And if what you want is to be married with a family, you got to do things that are going to get you there. So here's the emotion thing. Impressions are guys leering at girls, right? That's basically an impression, right? The next level is, oh, I have something in common with this person. I found them on Match.com, and yes, in fact, we both like to sail and we both like hang gliding. Fine. You don't know at this point whether they're geographically desirable, whether they might be related to you, whether they're sexual preference. You don't know whether they're a dog. You don't know who they are, right? That's what a like is, right? You don't really know anything about them, right? You just know that they like you, right? They may be your competition. Who knows? Okay, followers are kind of the level at which, okay, you've decided that they're geographically, that they're not your dog, they're not your relative, they might possibly be geographically desirable enough to invite for dinner, right? That's a follower, right? They're interested enough in your stuff so that they're willing to follow you, but you still don't really know whether, oh, maybe, they're just here for a week or two and then they're going back to Iceland and you don't really want to move to Iceland to date this person. Then to get to the point of consideration. And what this says is, I gotta remember what it says. This isn't a casual one-night stand. I actually want to hibernate with you. This probably would work better if I was still in Canada. You know, if you want to hibernate with somebody, I'm willing to consider your product. I'm willing to consider your message, or I'm willing to consider doing what it is that you want to do, right? That's a pretty high level of engagement, right? It's still not getting you to that happily married state yet. Trial is the equivalent of marriage, right? I'm willing to get engaged with you, literally, put that ring on your hand. I'm willing to try your product. That's trial, right? The wedding itself is the purchase, okay? I'm walking down the aisle, I'm now going to purchase, right? But that's still not the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal is that happily married with family, because you want somebody not to just buy your product once or buy your message once. You want them to become an advocate for you, to tell your friends, to tell your relatives, to say, okay, here, I'm going to settle down and have this extended family of advocates that are all about my brand and my message. So it's not just about getting to that trial, it's really about building a relationship that is going to go on and help your brand. And that is, yes, in fact, that is my family. It's my grandmother getting married at Lake George.